My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. All right, this is P.O.C, and this represents the population that's going to be deported. She's engaged in terrorism in the U.S. with the U.S. government. She's gang stalking in front of Bethel Congregation. She gets out to use her device in my path, taking a picture of this sign, 9UQE561. That's a psychopath. It's a demon of Asian descent, okay? Like I stated, demons don't have any nationality. They don't have a race. But what you're looking at when the government's engaging in corruption, you have immigrants that are gang stalking. That is terrorism with the U.S. military in the United States, pursuant to what is a a ongoing immigration policy. The immigration policy is serving the pattern of conduct. Okay, license 8JYG256 is gang stalking with those that are coming to this country and know exactly who I am and are engaging in that identical pattern of conduct. And this is stalking conduct. The light activity, illegally parking to come take a picture of the homosexual Christian sign in front of the gang stalker that is Bethel Congregation. That is the P.O.C. Okay, this is an entity that's engaged in that. And the immigrant, this is how I'm letting you know, I'm making a point when I'm pointing out the ethnicity of this gang stalker. Satan does not have an ethnicity and a race or age or an income bracket. These are demons that are engaging in an international targeting system. This is terrorism that's underway in the U.S. That is, the U.S. government is a domestic terrorist while gang stalking an American citizen, and they are doing so across the globe. And moreover, those demons come to the United States pursuant to laws that are created for that purpose, to engage in terrorism within the jurisdiction of the U.S. And that is the treason that the government's engaging in. Okay? This is the same venue where the government's stalking me by helicopters and planes. Those that are born in this country are stalking with those that can't even speak the English language. And then they maintain an illusion of this system, politics, and politicians that you're voting for while they're entertaining you. All right? They are literally insulting your intelligence while they're maintaining a system and distracting you on topics that they're not even divided on. Okay, including the gang stalkers that are the police. They're being deported. Any of those that are immigrants of the gang stalker police department, they're getting deported. But nonetheless, this is the joke that is that pattern of conduct. It's a joke. It's just like gang stalking in an ambulance and a fire truck. You see them under the fake sun, proving that they are unneeded, proving that they have been a waste of expenditures, and proving that shutting down and martial law and not having driving privileges is exactly what the demons that have been engaged in wasting money while they're stalking and monitoring everybody is exactly what justice requires. All right, this is the P.O.C. That is a lesson in what is actually the immigration policy, serving the criminal pattern of conduct with the criminals who are not engaged in law enforcement. They're stalking. This is the P.O.C. It is currently, by the way, 10:16 a.m. where the demons inside of Bethel Congregational, this fake church of homosexuals who are hostile to Christ and his word, they're engaging in monitoring me. That's what's relevant behind a demon targeting me in front of that venue. It is also symbolic what the demons do, but nobody cares because you're going to prison. That's the P.O.C. It is currently 10:17 a.m. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. Oak Park is gang stalking in Upland Public Library and in the Ontario Ovid Family Library, and the entity stalking by the military. License VM859, vehicle 180. Oak Park is a terrorist, and they're engaging in abuse of the developmentally challenged while they're making money off of gang stalking with them. License 54903 Charlie 4, gang stalking at this intersection where the entity, which I've already shown, is stalking me right here by helicopter. Doing so under the fake sun, gang stalking me by commercial planes, and that's exactly what happens while I'm approaching a terrorist that is stalking on the roads and the highways. That's another corporate actor that, moreover, is unfit to be in any area, any facet of the medical field, while they are abusing their clients, the developmentally challenged who are gang stalking while they're going into the library, where Anthesis, just like that corporate entity, and Oak Park are engaging in what is abuse while they're gang stalking. They'll be prosecuted for that. All right, they're engaged in criminally violating the Welfare and Institutions Code while they're engaged in federal stalking, and they're doing so maliciously gang stalking me outside while I am en route. And that is Oak Park doing so while they are driving that vehicle. They're doing so while they are including that business. This is the P.O.C. The entity is engaging in what is terrorism. Oak Park is engaging in terrorism while the military is stalking me in commercial planes. And I'm looking at the Oak Park logo, and the city of Ontario is stalking in the path with facilitating light activity where I have shown the fake sun remaining over me and ongoing terrorism by that entity. These are the demons that are engaged in that pattern of conduct Oak Park is targeting together. Surrounded Oak Park, they're vagina monitors. They're terrorists, they are stalkers, they're demons. Demons have no business in the medical field, and that's exactly what Oak Park is going to be subject to regarding prosecuting and exposing it. Those of the like, okay? It's the same entity going by different company names, corporate actors. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 10:37 a.m. That's gang stalking by Oak Park, the people of the state. P.O.C. Alrighty, this is P.O.C. First of all, the entity is engaged in criminal summoning. All right, stalking in the path, and the people of the state are literally going out of their way to try to cover up the logo on that vehicle. That is California Highway Patrol, and the entity is gang stalking with the diversified landscaping. They were stalking me on San Antonio with the helicopter. They're engaged in monitoring with the city of Ontario, who lined the entire street, Euclid Avenue. As I walk in, you see all that light activity? This is criminal surveillance by the city of Ontario and the city of Upland, the two cities that are subject to martial law as well, that are surrounded with years of evidence of targeting me and furtherance of murder with the U.S. military. And the entity is doing so in real time. I want to be clear, this is relevant to what is the gang stalkers that are CHP, California Highway Patrol, which Gavin Newsom, appointing the leader over that department, is not ignorant about the criminal surveillance system that California Highway Patrol is engaging in concert with the Upland Police Department in the city of Upland on behalf of the U.S. military that are gang stalking with the people of the state. With the city of Upland. This is the entity that is stalking with light. These are demons. And this is mentally ill behavior, and it's a matter of public corruption. This is gang stalking. AEDT 129 is monitoring on communication devices, stalking on the roads and the highways, losing your driving privilege, subject to martial law, doing so while you want to add the helicopter, or even right here with that's prison. This is the formula, this is the policy, how you're going to prosecute. All right, the entity's engaged in this, and I'm prosecuting what is the entity that's systematically monitoring. And these are demons that are in law enforcement, and they're actually paid stalkers. And this is what the military is doing. License 8, Zebra Victor Sam 533. License 8, Charlie Jerry Charlie 123. License 34052 Charlie 4. License 6, George 77509. All right, that's the pattern of conduct. California Highway Patrol has been exposed as a domestic terrorist. They are gang stalking on the roads and the highways with actors like Caltrans, with the people of the state on the roads and the highways, while the fake sun remains over my vehicle on whatever freeway I get at whatever time of day, and the fake moon on the roads and the highways, the freeways, the U.S. highways. California Highway Patrol is a stalker. All right, they're literally under the law. This is gang violence. They're engaged in what is domestic terrorism. All righty, this is P.O.C. That's criminal activity in concert with the people of the state. That is the basis to disband a gang stalking law enforcement agency, by the way, okay? And that's exactly what the federal government has the jurisdiction, the authority to do. All right, this is P.O.C. It is currently 10:52 a.m. This is how an entity is stalking me as I'm going from one place to another. All right, they're stalking with light, they're stalking in the path, they're stalking in the sky space, that's stalking in the path, and they're doing so while the entity is cooperatively engaging in that, the maintenance of audible activity, the maintenance of light activity, while they're doing so. And the big picture that you know that they're all demons, they do that when the fake sun is right over me and they're all pacing all around. This is mentally ill behavior. This is the basis for martial law, okay? This is where they engage in what they refer to as rituals, what we refer to those who are sound and who are exposing and providing a study for you, for your information. This is the mentally ill entity that is in need of massive involuntary commitments. And there are facilities that are being built to put the demons where they belong. This is the Nephilim, all right? This is P.O.C., it's gang stalking. And it's demonic activity practiced by the government. All right, this is P.O.C., it is currently 10:53 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, and he's engaged in serial stalking at Upland Public Library. And right now the military is flying over by helicopter, doing so at the facilitating venue where demons are congregating, and the demons, pursuant to the same pattern of conduct, meaning mental illness, demons that gather at churches that are not Christ Jesus Church, but are facilitating venues where gang violence is underway. The entity is engaging in what is stalking, and I just want you to see, these are the demons that are engaged in the pattern of conduct. That's a 7-Eleven employee that's gang stalking, and doing so at the facilitating venue of the Upland First United Methodist Church. The entity flying over my head by helicopter. These are psychopaths engaged in that pattern of conduct. That's a demon creating light activity, stalking while the entity is amplifying train activity right now, doing so at what is 7 p.m. where there's no scheduled trains right now. This is the P.O.C. I'm going to document the people of the state that are engaging in gang violence. They're stalking in the path, monitoring me. This is P.O.C. The entity stalking by helicopter, so I'm capturing the people of the state engaging in that psychopathic behavior. They were all monitoring my vagina inside of the Upland Public Library as well. This is P.O.C. You see how they go to the cars now? Demons. And if any of them are Africans from outside of the U.S., for example, Jamaicans, Haitians, they're getting deported. P.O.C. They're getting deported. You pay attention how nobody's looking, nobody's talking, but the moment that I start documenting, they run to their vehicles. Those are gang stalkers, and those are demons. That's what you need to know, they're demons. You're no brother of mine because you have black skin. You have a black soul. Those are demons that are gang stalking, and the military just flew over me by helicopter, while United Methodist Church, this is a fake church that will be raided. They'll go to federal prison. This is the P.O.C. And you've got the 7-Eleven employee. Oh, I guess he found Satan. So he's congregating at the fake church. He's going to prison for engaging in poison with regard to the products at 7-Eleven. And he's also gang stalking. This is the one that drives the black Nissan, gang stalking at the gang stalking church. 9KCY200. That's his vehicle right there. He's going to prison, and tow workers. All right, that's the P.O.C. This is the gang stalking fake church where I've captured the fake son in the morning and in the evening. These are probably drug addicts. They're all sex offenders, and he's engaged in the pattern of conduct with minor children as well. Documenting the license. At demons that are outside of a building that merely says church, it means absolutely nothing. It doesn't mean anything. This is where the entities engage in the same gang violence, stalking by helicopter. They're all demons, all of them. P.O.C. This is crossing path, he's stalking. License plate, 8 Henry, Larry Henry 126. This is P.O.C. Alrighty, documenting the license plates for those listening via podcast. I'm capturing license plates, so you'll have to view the video in order to observe the license plates that I'm capturing of those engaging in terrorism with the entity by helicopter, which is the basis of federal prison. And it is at facilitating venue where I'm located at the Upland First United Methodist Church. This is the P.O.C. They waited. I am literally the event, okay? Everybody is engaging what is stalking outside, waiting for me so that they engage in what is psychopathic, time-consuming resources. All the gang members that are worshiping me, worshiping my vagina. Oh, here she comes. She's walking down the street. That's when the helicopter flies over. These are demons that are all going to be subject to martial law. They're not humans. These are demons. This is Nephilim. All right, these are inferior creatures that have been prosecuted under the law, and stalking by helicopter is their concession regarding defeat. Moreover, they're going to be committed with the same evidence. And it is speaking to Marcelo Blanco, who's being federally prosecuted. It's speaking to the Upland Police Department that's engaging in what is stalking on the roads and the highways. It's speaking to the people of the state that are gang members stalking under a fake sun. That's what you're accomplishing when you're engaging in that. Moreover, you need to know that Christians are not identified by congregating at any venue just because it says the word church. They're demons. Satan does the exact same thing, and you will know them by their deeds. License plate 9YNH495-23440K4, stalking in the path. This is P.O.C. This is 7-Eleven. He's not on the job right now, but this is relevant to the terrorism underway at 7-Eleven, going out of his way to engage in that act of terrorism. He's going to prison, and these are the acts of suicidal people that know that they're going to prison, and they gang stalk you in these obvious manners. P.O.C. There's Amazon, gang stalking, everything pursuant to surveillance. This is all about me, the one that has prosecuted the government. All right, and that prosecution, you can look at that work of art and give glory to Christ Jesus, the one that's exposing Satan, because it's all over social media. Look at, this is the POC.wordpress.com, my YouTube platform, which is laying out an epic and unprecedented federal prosecution of the U.S. government. The U.S. government that knows that it's being dishonorably discharged from the military will be federally prosecuted as terrorists and sex offenders and are going to prison and mental institutions. And they're still stalking in helicopters to date. And this is a matter of evidence speaking to what is the entity and their families that are going to be impoverished by stalking me. License 8LGV871. 7-Eleven's irrelevant position. They are stalking in concert with the demons that are right next door. All right. This is the entity that's engaging in that P.O.C. going out of their way because this is an entity that is psychopathic. You're going to compensate me for stalking. What are you winning? It's because they're not humans. Understand it. This is mental illness that has now superseded what was the point in maintaining secrecy in the first place. And there are gang stalking celebrities and gang stalking politicians that are going to prison with this very evidence. This is why you don't team up with Satan. This is also why you don't engage in criminal activity with the mentally ill, the incompetent, because I'll prosecute you. License 8XET911 and use your mental illness against you. This is the P.O.C. This is 204 North Euclid Avenue. They're stalking with the military as well, 7:05 p.m. It is currently 8:03 p.m. and I have arrived at the Ovid Family Community Library, the Ontario Civic Center, and the entity engaged in stalking the entire route, maintaining flights, planes that are hovering. This is the military that is stalking. So the military engaged in stalking with the city of Ontario, the city of Upland, and the military did so by maintaining flights hovering, commercial airline planes that are flying over the housing community and continuously going in the direction south while flying west. So plane after flying west over the crossing my path by hovering, flying west, and doing so more and more in the direction south as I was walking on Euclid Avenue. So this is the entity stalking by being in front of me, going in the direction south while flying west. Doing so while, again, having nothing to do with the operation of the airport. This is the airport that is stalking, however, while planes coming from that airport, having no passengers, not headed to a destination, engaging in the pattern of conduct under all circumstances, are serving to prosecute the city of Ontario, the people of the state. It's 8:04 p.m. The entity will engage in what is now stalking, maintaining flights at the Ovid Family Community Library / Senior Center by hovering over this civic center area, the City Hall, the Senior Center, and the City Center Senior Apartment Complex. All right, that's what the evidence is already shown, and that's the entity's pattern of conduct. It is 8:05 p.m., and this is P.O.C. P.O.C. As I'm uploading onto YouTube. This is the military stalking at the Civic Center. 8:16 p.m. That's federal stalking on my device. This is the unlawful search that the military is engaging in while they're engaged in federal stalking with the people of the state. And it's also pursuant to what is monitoring me in furtherance of murders, psychologically torturing me while I operate my device, stalking me through the cities as I'm going from place to place, doing so in concert with a population that is also mentally ill, doing so while they're stalking with the helicopter activity like I'm documenting. That's the P.O.C. The U.S. military that's engaging in this terrorism with the people shall be subject to what are involuntary commitments. They're going to be committed. So that's what this body of evidence is serving for, which is how you will prosecute an entity that is at the outset severely deranged, that is mental illness, that is proven through the tangible evidence, which is getting to a behavioral health concern that's shared by an entire entity that is stalking. Okay, and that is the evidence that shall be a basis of the creation of what is a federal policy, domestic terrorism, where the entity is engaging in this system. That entity is subject to what is martial law for the protection of the American public, subject to what are involuntary commitments to federal prison. This is P.O.C. The pattern of conduct is mentally ill behavior, and the entity that engages in this shall not engage in defaming any person. And not only that, this is the basis to change what are state and federal laws where this system is facilitated by the existing legislation, the Welfare and Institutions Code, which are not proving what is actual mental illness, while the entity is engaging stalking and manipulating the circumstances in people's lives in order to fit into what is described as mentally ill. And the P.O.C. proves that that is not evidence of mental illness while you don't have the evidence to prove what it is that you are experiencing. That is not mental illness, and that is not a basis to take anyone against their will and confine them. It's also not a basis under the law to engage in what is depriving people of their liberty right to not only remain free, but remain in custody and control of their property pursuant to that which the government doesn't have a legitimate interest in, while it's moreover engaging in surveillance. That is what you do with your money, whether or not you are responsibly engaging in what is spending your money, living on your property, investing in it. These are illegitimate interests. The government doesn't have a legitimate interest in it, and the entity is engaging in this. This is the government that's engaging in kidnapping children, trafficking them, stealing from them, stealing their identity in order to steal their money and property. And this is what they do when they're engaging in that gang stalking them. This is a basis to totally uproot that law, those laws, that body of law that is existing state and federally with regard to this pattern of conduct, which is disproving the whole system itself, what the entity is relying on. And it's also speaking to the corrupt practices of medicine, where medical professionals who are also engaged in this pattern of conduct know very well that there's no mental illness suffered by people that are being criminally defamed. This is P.O.C. It's currently 8:20 p.m. Ironically and justly, the entity that is gang stalking shall be subject to what are confinements and treated and a matter of public information, whereby there is no HIPAA protection, because your mental illness is that which is threatening the nation, the world, because this is an international criminal system threatening American citizens, and it will be a matter of public information that you are correctly assessed as a terrorist that's engaging in a psychopathic and sexually perverted pattern of conduct, which gives you an impulse to want to kill people, stalk them, and then defame their character with a corrupt government that facilitates that and creates what is legislation to enable that, facilitate that. This is that entity that's going to be subject to what is actual diagnosis by this prosecution, by conviction of actual mental illness. This is P.O.C. It's currently 8:20 p.m. Entity that is stalking, pay attention to the pattern. The entity that is obsessively engaged in stalking me and doing cartwheels behind the building, wanting to hide that they're stalking. But you already know that the military are a bunch of vagina monitors that are stalking, and they send vagina monitors that are obsessed with me. This is the ongoing pattern. But the evidence is going to serve for what is having the military committed and the stalkers just like this. Committed, wants to be next to me, wants to breathe the air that I breathe, wants to do so while you're looking at psychopathic behavior. Doing so under the fake moon, this is a vagina monitor. Wants to be next to me in the engineer light, this is a vagina monitor. And this is the entity that is literally obsessed with my breathing pattern, obsessed with my pores, my hair follicles, obsessed with my very being, my digestion, including my vagina. This is the entity. I want you to see his face because it's already on X. These are the demons that are going to be committed. And this is also the basis of the military that is going to be subject to prison. The Ontario Police Department, who are going to prison. The Ontario Fire Department, those demons are going to prison. The demons that are gang stalking the people of the state, this is mental illness. These are the demons that are stalking in the library all day long. They're not reading. Okay? They can't read. They monitor your genitalia. This is a demon. It is, by the way, 12 o'clock. No, it's 11:47 p.m. And you're stalking under a fake moon where they keep a fake sun all day long over me. And this is nothing other than ongoing obsession that is failing to persuasive appear as though anything else at 11:47 p.m. where I'm sleeping. Pay attention when I'm sleeping at the square. That's when around benches. Nobody comes over here, but when I do, this is why I have an audience every night. Okay? These are the ones that are monitoring genitalia, and they are going to be put in the facilities where they belong. This is the P.O.C. This is what obsession appears as. This is what you're paying attention to. And even when they engage in this sort of conduct, this demon's been stalking all night long, doesn't have anywhere to live, clearly nowhere to go, and wants to be up and under me. And that's because they are, in fact, mentally ill. It includes the demons that are celebrities. You need to understand. They're financing this. They're engaging in what is stalking and obsessed with me, obsessed with my thoughts, obsessed in everything. This is for you to understand. This is a threat, however. A government that engages in this engages in what is stalking and monitoring and wants to harm you if they are threatened with the inability to continuously do so. That's the purpose of gang stalking. This is the P.O.C. It's witchcraft, though. This is witchcraft. There are no planes that are engaging in any takeoff here. The entity is stalking by helicopter. I put that on X. This is a vagina monitor. This is a stalker, a demon. This is the P.O.C. All right, these are the mentally ill that want to be where I am. That is, again, all races, all ages. This is an entity that's at all economic status. This is the dusty crusty engaging in what is stalking me, doing so with the government. Okay, so do not be deceived because they're standing on stages and you are also supporting them and buying the records and what. Those are dusty crusties. Those are the Nephilim. Okay, they put on shiny meat suits to impress you. They're not different. They're all vagina monitors. This is the P.O.C. This is the pathetic, the lower creatures, the gargoyles that are stalking at 11:49 p.m. P.O.C.